y'all. Hey, it's Ann with Andale Homestead.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Casey from Ormsby Farms.
Hello, hello. This is Sandy from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
And I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Good morning, everyone. Okay, we are super excited to be here this morning, and we do have a special guest, but I think we're going to say hello first to everyone. So, Miss Ann, would you welcome everybody in today?
Absolutely, absolutely. Good morning, Butler Family Farm. We're so glad that you're here, Jerry and his wife, Susan. And we have Denise. Good morning, Denise. Thanks for coming in. And we appreciate everyone that's coming over all four channels and round the hay bale or are broadcasting simultaneously today. And on our lives, what we like to do is keep them around 30 minutes. So we'll be in that neighborhood of time framing. And we appreciate you coming. Check out Ormsby Farms, Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, and Round the Hay Bale, because when we get our channel, Round the Hay Bale, up to 500 subscribers, we're going to have a big old giveaway, you guys. So we appreciate
Pew,
you.
pew, pew.
We appreciate you and thank you for being here.
Okay, so our last episode, we talked about meat birds like a couple weeks ago, right? And this past episode, we talked about specifically American breasts, which is a specific kind of meat bird, but I think they're kind of considered dual purpose, right, Casey? They're both, right?
Yeah, I think it's the kind of uber popular dual purpose bird right now. We talk about self-sustainability and community sustainability. And that's one thing that we talked about is Cornish cross is not self-sustainable, but this American breast gets to the size that Cornish cross do. It takes a little bit longer. I'm sure we're going to get all the juicy juice, chicken juicy juice. Anybody get that now? Okay. Tough crowd this morning, but we'll get it from Sydney when we bring him up. So I think we should bring up our special guest from the Naked Gardeners. We have Sydney.
Woohoo! Welcome.
Everybody remember that back in the 90s?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I remember it in the 70s, so you didn't invent that one, huh?
Wait, Arsenio Hall didn't invent that? Because I'm pretty sure. Miss Ann just wrecked my world just now. Okay, I thought Arsenio Hall was the genius behind that, but
Ain't nothing new in this crowd.
So we're talking about American breast today. Yeah.
Yes.
Sydney, talk a little bit about you and your wife's background in American breast and how y'all got started into this dual purpose breed.
Well, we got started in this by accidental. We started off as foodies. We were urban backyard gardeners in the Dallas area, small urban backyard gardeners in the Dallas area. We were basically growing our own foods. And then we went to a homesteading life conference where we decided not only can we grow our own food, we should be able to raise our own food. And we started off with egg layers, basically the gateway to homesteading is started off with egg layers and turkeys. Got to love turkeys. The Mrs. Naked Gardener, she did not like turkeys. We wound up processing our turkeys and stuff. And then I was looking, since we were foodies, for the world's best tasting chicken, and American breast came up. I was looking, and so I saw that this one farm or hatchery had the American breast, and so we put an order in for those. And then right when they were about to send us these birds, they said that they had an unbelievable hatch rate, and that they could send us 100. When we initially were going to only have 30 of these birds, and they said they had an incredible hatch rate, and that if we take 100 of these birds, all we would have to do is pay for the shipping of these extra 70. I was like, why not? And so we decided to take these birds, and then we just grew them out. We was like, you know what, we can start just raising them on our own. And as content creator, we showed our journey of with the American breast, and then people like was asking us, "Hey, can you give us some hatching eggs and this and that?" And so we started looking into it and find out we can't just send hatching eggs; we have to be NPIP certified and all this other stuff. So we just
Okay.
got that journey of being that, because otherwise you have to pay a fine. And even though some people don't like Uncle Sam in their pockets, sometimes you got to give a little to give a little and stuff. So
Okay.
but it's been a great journey for that, and not just with American breast. Just any heritage bird is a great sustainable, self-sustainable bird compared to a Cornish cross or any hybrid bird. Hybrid birds are more for the production people that's willing to sell their birds for them, and people that would like the big breasted birds. The heritage birds are more for the self-sustainable, I consider homesteading type birds that people that can feed their families and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my intake on that.
That is awesome. Now, I understand that some people call the American breast the patriotic bird because the combs are red, they're white, and the legs are almost blue. Is that correct?
Correct. So they originated
That's
from
cool.
France, and Brett, I forgot, the Greenfire got them from France, and France did not want them to be called breast, just breast. So that's the reason why they call them the American breast. They started back in 2011, I believe it was, and every 3 years or every so often he goes back and gets a different genetic line from them and brings them back. Now, different hatcheries gets it from him, but he's the true Greenfires are the true genetics from that gets it from France.
And how many of them do you have right now?
So we have two flocks of the American breast. We have one from Greenfire and one from Breast Farms.
2 flocks. Okay.
And
Hmm.
I was going to say the reason why we really wanted to talk about this too was because you talked about like the more of the self-sustaining, right? So with and what you meant by that was basically like when you do the American breast or you raise those birds, you can now raise them from start to finish, right? You don't
Correct.
have to depend on that hatchery like you do if you're getting Cornish cross, because like Casey, I know, just ordered a bunch of Cornish cross. And I think a lot of us have done it. I think everyone here has gotten Cornish cross except for Miss Anne, but everyone is here has raised Cornish cross at some point, or at least are about to. And you have to depend on a hatchery to do that. And that was one of the things we really discussed that I think that a lot of us really like is the ability to know that we can raise this bird. It comes out to be a good flavor. We can raise it a little longer, maybe than maybe a standard meat bird, a Cornish cross. Do they last longer than a Cornish cross if you want them to? Is that
Yes,
an option?
yes. Now, and I don't want to bash hatcheries, but it's just you have more flexibility of the heritage breeds. And I
Mhm.
just don't want to just only say American breast, but just heritage breeds. You have more flexibility. Like right now, we're in Northeast Texas where we're reaching triple digit weather, and we
Yeah.
can, our American breast is out in the pasture, free range, not free range. They're in a fenced in area, but they're out in the elements where Cornish cross. I mean, you got to baby them
Oh,
and whatnot. You almost with Cornish cross, you almost could only raise in Texas. I only can speak for Texas in our area, in our climate. You only could almost have to raise them in the certain parts of the early parts of the year, from the early spring to the late summer times, where American breast you could raise them year round. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think that was the problem we had. We raised our Cornish cross, we raised in September through November. And then we raised them in like the early part of the spring in through May. And by the end of May, we had to be done with them because popping into June, we were in trouble. It was getting hot.
Hmm.
And it was going to
Hmm.
be to the point where they were going to start having issues with their hearts and able to, walk and things like that. So
Right.
that's not
Exactly.
very, it doesn't work for the heat. And Miss Ann, you're in the heat. So if
I
you're in
am.
that area, you really should know the birds that were going to work in your area too.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
Now,
Monica, you did tell me, Monica, that when I was deciding to do Cornish Cross for this year's kind of group of meat birds, because I will be going with American Breast going forward, she was like, Casey, you need to do it either early spring or do it kind of August through the fall, because otherwise them chickens gonna die. Them chickens gonna die on you from that heat, huh?
Yeah,
Because
because you don't even have like regular heat. You have like a sheet of like moisture that
Yeah.
like looms over you in Georgia.
Yeah.
for months,
Oh, yeah.
Like a
months.
big blanket of sweat.
Yeah,
Um,
and to kind of go back with the hatcheries. Let's take, for instance, back when the pandemic or where we had that bird flu scare, where a lot of the hatcheries had to euthanize a lot of their
right.
birds. Then what happened? You had to wait for the whole new cycle of their animals to get, and then you're like, oh man, I should have ordered my birds. And now what you got to do? So that's why
Right.
I'm all for, if you're not doing productions, I'm all for heritage breeds. If you're a productions and stuff, then I'm all for hybrid breeds type of meat birds.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it makes the most sense.
I
Well-
do have a question. I'm sorry, Sandy.
No, go ahead.
I have a question because I was trying to explain this to Worth. Now, my husband was raised out in the country. They had chickens, they had roosters. That's how they fed. They had 7 children in their family. That's how they fed them often. And they just they had a hen house, but mostly they just stayed in the yard. And I can't do that here. And so we were talking about having a pen specifically for the birds. You got a choo-choo train. It's that
Sorry,
choo-choo.
downtown Dallas.
That's okay. I like that choo-choo train. But would something, because it goes so quickly in their growth, you're just like 4 months or 16 weeks or whatever. Do they have to have like a roost and a house to get in?
Some yes and no. Some birds will roost, some birds won't roost. We in our egg layers coop, we have a lot of roosting bars, and some of them won't even go up on there. Some of them will. It
Okay.
all depends on their mood. It's good to provide. It's good to provide the option for them. With Cornish cross, I mean, I have in their coops, I have roosting bars as high as 6 inches for them to go up on. They won't even jump up on there. So
Okay.
they're just so fat and lazy. I don't think they can get up on there once they're hit a certain age. So it's
All
good to
right.
have the option for them, but the most thing is to keep their feet dry and dry, basically dry.
Try-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple questions. To raise them as a meat bird, are we looking at 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks? What is your average?
So when we first acquired the American breast, we were told 18 to 22 weeks. However, we found out that the 16 weeks is the perfect way that we like to prepare our birds, because it gives us the option to either broil, fry, bake without for our texture, our preference of texture of cooking it. Now you can do up to 22 weeks. It's still okay. It's a little bit stringy, if you know what I mean, for any experienced bird prepper and understand what I'm talking about. However, I feel 16 weeks is the perfect way to prepare these American breasts. We get them at 16 weeks. We get them roughly about a little bit over 3.5 pounds. And since it's just me and the missus, that's a perfect size for just me and her.
Okay.
Okay.
my second question is, because they're a dual bird, they're egg layers, they're meat with a great flavor. How many eggs per year do you think that people could expect to get if they're just raising them that way? They're not raising them to harvest them. 200, 225. What kind of experience?
So they say anywhere from 200 to 250. Now I've noticed that even during the heat, they still lay pretty decent. I've noticed about that. Some birds during once the temperature gets above like 95 or higher, they stop laying completely. But these birds are still laying pretty decently on a consistent basis. So.
Okay. And you talked about on our regular podcast how you finish them off. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So at the 14th week mark, we start preparing. Not like the French do. The French they confine them in a dark space and they ferment. They feed them corn fermented in raw milk, and that just basically their structure, their structure body type allows their meat to consume carbs a certain way to darken up the marble up their meat a certain way almost to resemble like red meat. We don't want to do that completely because we still want to allow them to enjoy the bugs and the vitamin D of the sun and stuff like that. So we still allow them to roam out and get the grass and stuff, but we just allow them to a free choice of the raw milk, of the free choice of the cracked corn fermented in raw milk. And we'd give that to them for the last 2 weeks. And then we restrict that feed for them the last 12 hours before it's time to process them.
And why do you stop it at 12 hours? What have you found on the reason to do that?
Just to get all that their feed out of their crop. It just makes it easier to when there's time to eviscerate them. It allows it to get out of them.
And would you recommend that to anybody, no matter what kind of chicken that they're raising?
Yes, I would. I would recommend when you're feeding chicken or when you're I wouldn't even just say just processing. When you're having chicken, I would recommend having at least grit when you're providing feed. If you're doing egg layers, I wouldn't say, we try to provide some type of oyster shell or some type of calcium, I should say, for our egg layers, and for our meat birds, we just provide grit and a nice protein level, depending on what age level that they're in. We get most of our feed from Reseca. It's a non-GMO type feed. For other folks, they might, you can get your feed from Tractor Supply or your local co-op feed or wherever you get them from, and they'll recommend whatever feed that you would like. But with the Reseca, they recommend for heritage breed and for commercial, the hybrid breed of what type of feed and protein that you need to require to get for that particular meat bird or animal.
Now, would you recommend also on that kind of line, if you're growing out any turkeys or any other type of chicken for meat, doing the final 2 weeks in the cracked corn and fermented raw milk? Do you think that would probably work for?
No,
or is it just American breasts?
I think just American breast will only work. Now, there's other people that are trying to cross the American breast with other breeds just to see if they can get, because the American breast doesn't have the large, even though the last name of the American breast assumes that you're going to have a large breast in there, but it's not. It's just a better tasting, premium tasting bird. So if you're a foodie, it is a good bird for you to try. Otherwise, you can just try any other type of heritage breed bird that will, and I suggest everybody do their homework to find out what bird in their environments, whether you're in northern, because some birds will have a higher comb. So if you're in the northern climate, you don't want to get you a bird that has a higher comb, because that bird during the winter climates will have a higher assessment, get a frostbite bit on their comb, or their wattles might get frostbite, get on their comb, and then lose it. The same with if you're in the southern climate, check to see if that bird is better suitable for the southern climate, because if you have a more winter bird and they get that triple digit or humid temperature, that you might lose that bird to heat exhaustion and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't get the bird because it looks pretty or it lays beautiful eggs.
Guilty.
We all are. We all are.
I'm telling you. But I'm learning so much, and I'm learning that there is a science to raising chickens. And
We all are. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And I take all of this through APA. We learned a lot through APA. APA is a American Pasture Poultry Production Association that Joe Salatin started long time ago. His son now kind of takes it over and stuff. We've been learning through a lot of things through members of APA about production animals of the poultry, for not just chickens, but also ducks, geese, turkeys, and stuff like that. So anybody that's into production of the poultry, I highly suggest joining that. Is very cheap. Annual membership of $50. They once a month they have a online call on a Thursday where you can talk with Joel Salatin or listen to Joel Salatin talk, or you can ask him questions and things of that nature. They do a weekly newsletter where you can ask questions on the newsletter, where you get people from Canada, Mexico, all over, for experienced producers that will answer your questions. I mean, it is amazing of what you can get from there.
Okay, that's a wonderful resource. Well, I mean, it's just when I started out gardening, I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
plants grow well in what climate, or how to do it, or I mean, I'm the one that planted every seed in the whole packet. So
Yeah,
we
but
learn.
isn't this the best thing about our community? That we can learn from each other. We can,
Yes.
Yes.
like coming on today and asking questions from the chat and just really getting more information. Like, I didn't know about the Thursday night. I would join just because I'd like to do that.
Right.
That would be worth it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The emails alone, the daily emails I learned from there, it is just mind blowing from that. I mean, it's just amazing on learning about different feeders, auto feeders, and waterers that you can
Right.
add into your flock to help make your stuff more efficient if you're a producer. So
Okay. Well, that sounds like a wonderful learning tool.
now, and they also meet up once a year. They're finally doing they finally let out that they're going to do the end of January of next year in Allen, Texas. But this might be the last time they do it in Texas. They possibly might be doing it in either Georgia or Florida the following year. So who knows? But I'm excited about that. They have the guest speaker. I forgot the name of it. They put it on Instagram. They have a Facebook and Instagram. So if anybody's listening, join APA, follow APA on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not sure they have YouTube or anything, but Facebook and Instagram, follow them. Tell them I sent you.
And is
Okay.
it APPA?
APPPA.
Okay, awesome. So right now, is the American breast the only chickens that you're raising, or do you have any other ones on your place?
So we will be the 21st of this month. We will be doing a comparison. We're going to be raising Cornish cross, in American breast. We actually have about 90 plus American breast hatching eggs in our incubator, cabinet incubator. And we're
Wow.
going to
Nice.
do a, we're going to be doing a feed comparison, a mortality rate, a side by side environment. So we're going to have them in a similar not Joe Salon, John Suscovich tractor, moving them daily and everything. Feed, kind of basically seeing how well they compare simultaneously at the same, basically how well they do compared to each other, if they're even worth, raising, So we'll be, that's going to be an interesting video to watch or do the experiment and everything. So I'm excited to get that out.
I'm excited for y'all to do it. Y'all talked about that after we were recording the podcast, and that's going to be very interesting and exciting to watch for people that have heard all these amazing things about American breast, but really are like, okay, are they just saying that just because, that's their favorite? And so it'll be good to see the videos truly, comparing apples to apples instead of.
Exactly. I want to, because everybody say, oh, you never get the feed conversion rate. Well, I'm going to actually, I'm going to record every time we feed them, record each time we feed them and everything. And at the end of the processing, going to calculate how much they feed and how much they weighed at the end of each cycle. And we're not going to feed the Cornish cross, because normally we try to feed the Cornish cross to make pieced out weight. So we try to make the Cornish cross to be at least 4.5 pounds or higher, so that way we can get a good piece out rate. That's, if anybody's want to piece out Cornish cross, that's what we learned from APA. See, that's something that y'all need to learn. If you want to piece out your Cornish cross, you want them to be at least 4.5 pounds. So that's where you can get a good size breast and a tenderloin and everything. But I want them to be all whole birds. I want them to be at least about 4.25. So I'm gonna feed them by what the spec rate says and see how that goes.
And you're doing it in the fall?
Starting August 21st.
Okay. So that's a really good time for, especially where you're at too. Like, I feel like that's literally the best time of the year you could do it, because it's still hot. I mean, it's still hot here in September, but that's okay because they're going to be so little. They need that.
Yep, and they're going straight on grass. So
yeah,
normally
they can go straight to grass.
Yeah, normally we'll put them in the our big old brooder for 3 weeks, but we're putting everybody straight on grass.
Wow,
Okay.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah. And being a newbie, and someone may be like me, I don't know, that might watch this. When you talk about piecing out, what does that mean?
So piecing out is normally what producers would do is to get more bang for your buck. So for us as a newbie, we sold our birds as whole birds. So you'll probably we were selling our birds anywhere from $7 to $7.50 per pound. And they kind of sell slow. But we found, going through Apple, we found out if we piece out our birds, so you'll piece out your whole chicken bird, one bird. You'll piece out cut the bird up for your breast, your tenderloin, your wings, your necks, your your thighs, your bone-in thighs. What else is there? Your hearts, your livers, and you sell those all individually. So we will sell our breasts, and I don't use my price because our price feed and everything is all differently. So we sell our price for our package for $18 for our breasts, and those will sell out quick. I'm like, why? Our thighs, our bone-in thighs, is $16. Sell out quick. Our wings, $14. I mean, I was like, so you get more. So you basically, for all those pieces, will sell out more.
Yeah.
And compared to what you would sell for a whole bird, because most people in today's world don't know really how to cut up a whole bird,
and they don't want to do the work.
And they don't want to do it. Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, so they're paying for convenience.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that they don't know how to. Sometimes I want to say probably you're at a 50-50 on that one. I'm just trying to be generous there, but 50% of the time people don't know how. But I think a big chunk of that too, 50% of the time, people just don't care and they don't want to do it. They just don't have time because they don't make time to do the things that would save them money in the long run. They just get it because it's easy.
I wonder if, because when I look back on what I taught my own children, I'm not sure. My mother taught me how to cut up a chicken, but I'm not sure that I taught my children because by that time, everything we bought in the grocery store was already pieced out. So
I want everybody to do by the end of this month to take their children, ask them without showing them how to cut up a whole chicken.
That's a great
That'd be
idea.
a great videos.
Yeah.
Would be.
Well, I will say that after Eric's injury in Thanksgiving, he hurt himself. He literally stabbed himself doing our turkey for Thanksgiving. And, I took him to the ER. And in the meantime, I had my kids, my daughter, who was 19, she was supervising, but the rest of the kids, ages 16 and down, all the way to 8, were the ones finishing that bird for Thanksgiving. They did it. After Eric ended it, they are the ones that eviscerated. They're the ones that plucked it. They're the ones that did all of it, prepped it, weighed it, got it ready for the brine that night so that we could have it the next day. So they were the ones that did actually, that was Christmas dinner because it was Christmas Eve. He did that to himself. So it was our Christmas dinner. And so while we were at the ER on Christmas Eve, our kids, ages 16 and below, according to my 19-year-old's help, were the ones that finished off that bird for us and did it. So I wonder if they could breast one out, though. I wonder if they could piece it out. I don't know.
But it is a good
challenge.
Or that'd be great. That would be great.
It's a good one.
Battle of the Blands.
You get a bird, and you get a bird. Now go. Do that video.
And you know what? The funny thing was, at the last APA convention, they did a fastest time who could piece out a whole bird, and one lady pieced out a whole bird in under 30 seconds.
Wow. She must have had a sharp knife. Good for her.
A lot of practice.
Yep.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Well, Casey, it's been just about 30 minutes. And so maybe you could help us and say thank you so much to the Naked Gardener. For
Absolutely. Again, we are so grateful that Sydney jumped in and jumped out. We lost him. Jumped in and jumped out, and for his knowledge and expertise on the American breast. I'm saying it. And jumped back in.
There he is.
And jumping in.
Hit the wrong button.
Hey, just so you know, too, everybody, his link, I dropped the link to their channel in everybody's page. So if you're in one of our pages, make sure you go check out his link because it's in it's in one of the feeds.
It's an awesome channel, y'all.
It really is. It really is. And the two of them are just super knowledgeable. And we were so blessed and honored to have them. And he jumps back out. Jumping in and out. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up and jumping back in.
Yay!
I'm done touching the screen.
I was gonna say we like saying jumping in and out. But if y'all haven't, go ahead and scan that QR code and listen to the episode with the Naked Gardeners. They were with us for Talking Meat Birds, and they were there for last week, the newest episode on American breast. They are a wealth of knowledge. You definitely want to tune into those two episodes because, I was taking notes the whole time. And again, thank you everyone for coming in to today's show. We appreciate y'all taking the time to come in and say hello and let us know what you have done. And by the time we get to 500, so share our channel. By the time we get to 500, we are doing a giveaway, and we have some really, really great prizes that we're going to be giving away. So y'all, thanks for coming in. We will see you next Friday, and tune in next Monday because we have a new episode of Round the Hay Bale coming out. So bye, y'all. Bye.
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 Are you enjoying the Hay Bale topics? To learn more, click on the Linktree link to get all of our product recommendations, along with discount codes and more.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.
We're back.
And now live every Friday.
With new topics and a new time.
Don't forget, a new host.
Yay, that's right. Sandy joins the panel for Hey Y'all Hey radio show.
Now, on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central.
We'll see y'all there.